Welcome to the Life's Best Medicine podcast, where we are finding hope and healing one episode at a time. No appointment needed, no rubber gloves, and no copay. Just a healthy dose of life lessons to help equip you for this wild journey we call life. Hey everyone, this is a friendly reminder that we are here for entertainment purposes only. We may not even be that entertaining at times, but this is not medical advice. Talk to your doctor, check with your healthcare professionals before making any lifestyle changes or medicine changes. What we're talking about is our clinical experience and what we've seen. And so if you really want our advice, you can consult us. You can actually consult me as a doctor, or you can consult my guest and get all your questions answered. But we can't give free medical advice because we can't pay our bills with that, but we can help to educate you a bit and allow you to think a little bit. And always reach out to your medical professional before making any lifestyle changes. Thank you.
Discover a new path to wellness at Arizona Metabolic Health. Dr. Brian Lenzkes offers advanced medicine and personalized care, treating the root causes of your health concerns, not just the symptoms. Whether you're seeking direct primary care, effective diabetes management, or medical weight loss, with a holistic approach, our team is here to guide you every step of the way. Visit ArizonaMetabolicHealth.com today to learn more about our innovative health solutions.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to thank our sponsors who sponsored this program here today, Health Code. They've been with me from the start. I greatly appreciate their support. And I'm so glad they pay the production costs so we can get all these stories out to you. So please support them. Health Code, they have great vanilla and chocolate macadamia shakes, and you can make bars out of it. There's so much you could do. Go to their website. They have tons of recipes. I've been making the vanilla coconut custard. That's great, and just make some good fruit in there and enjoy it, some berries. And so Healthco, thank you so much. Met Health is our discount code with them. So METHEALTH, you get a little discount. But as the summer's here, let's eat some healthy food and enjoy ourselves, and please enjoy this episode. Hello and welcome back to the Life's Best Medicine podcast. I think today we're going to have Life's Best Medicine. This is something we all need. What do you think? If you think you don't need it, you're probably the one who needs it the most. Trust me on this one, right? So I have a guest here who is the Gratitude Grandmaster. You've heard us talk about vitamin G and gratitude, and I've had some great conversations over this, and it's one of those things that we just don't appreciate as much in Western lifestyle and medicine. And so we have Valencia Dantzler here from Rwanda. Welcome, Valencia. So great to have you.
Hey, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you so much. Yes. And you know what? Shout out to you because you're doing some great work here on the podcast. And I really just thank you for meeting with me today and taking your time out of your busy schedule. Because you're doing some great work, and I want everyone to just stop what they're doing. I want them to like, subscribe your podcast, share it with some other people, because this is how we get the word out to everybody.
I'm gonna bring you on every week. We'll just do this. Will be our intro. Great, perfect. No, thank you so much for joining me. So tell us your story. How did you realize the impact of gratitude? Like, how was life growing up, and where were the bumps in the road that kind of tilted you this way?
Yeah, well, you know what? I mean, my story, my life is maybe not as different as some other people. I'm sure everyone, goes through their ups and downs. I certainly have had my bouts of ups and downs, like any other woman would have. I've gone through divorce. I've gone through, even as a kid being picked on, and I had a family member do some things that were inappropriate. So, but these things go on, right? They go on. A lot of people don't seem to know about them. It's not something that we necessarily talk about, but everyone has something that has happened to them, right? So I'm no different from that. But I had really gotten to a place where I was ready to say goodbye to the world a few years ago, and I had the date, everything, but I discovered really on a whim, I set the date, and within a week I discovered gratitude. And I didn't think it was going to be something that would work, but it was actually something that did work for me. And I can just tell you, I took it day by day and not making myself any promises. But by the end of the month, man, I wanted to live and I wanted to tell everybody what had happened for me. And it was just something really simple.
Yeah, and how is that with gratitude? How did you come across gratitude? What happened? Were you watching TV or reading a book, or what happened with this gratitude?
Well, you know how you start flipping, right? I was flipping through YouTube, you know, and I came upon a chance video. I always say, back then, I was thinking, well, it's a chance thing to happen, right? But I guess what you really want in life really wants it for you as well, right? So this is something that the lady was talking about gratitude. It wasn't even a video about it. I just picked up two sentences that she said. She started practicing that and it's changed her life. And I was like, well, what do I have to lose? Right. Because I knew what I had said. And I did it. Within 5 days, I felt this much better, just a little bit better. But I thought it was a trick, right? I didn't believe it. And I said, well, let me just go one more week. Next week, I felt better. By the end of the month, you couldn't tell me anything. I wanted to live.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. So what was your practice of gratitude? You just woke up in the morning and were thankful for things, or what changed
Like,
practically for you?
well, she has said she would just start thinking about what she was grateful for. Well, me myself, before I even woke up, opened my eyes very well, I was thinking about all of my problems, all the relationships that didn't work out, all the finances that I didn't have, right? And for me, something just said, well, why don't you write it down? I'm like, what? Write it down. And I hadn't kept a diary since I was 7 years old, right? But I said, you know what? If I'm going to do this, let me do it. So I went to the little $5 store and I got a journal. I got my little journal right here, right? And I just started writing down really quickly 3 to 5 things that I was grateful for, just really quick. And it was hard at first to do that
When you're in
because
the
I
pit,
was
yeah, you're in the pit and you're thinking about suicide. You're like, what is so good in life, right? It's hard to see it.
right, right. And remember, I didn't think that this was anything that was going to work, but I said, I'm going to try it because I knew what I'd already planned, right? So I said, let me just give it my best. So it was hard. I remember sitting up in bed thinking, this is crazy. All the negative self talk was coming. I'm the only one in the house, right? But I said, no, I said I was going to do this. So I would pick out something small, like I can see the sunlight coming through the window. And I would just write that down really quick, right? And maybe 3 or 4 more other things really quick. And I would close the book and that was it. I would go about my day, go to the work, blah, blah, blah. Same thing. I didn't think anything was happening. But like I said, by the end of that week, I felt just a little bit better to where I said, well, let me try it again. I don't really think this is working, but let me just try.
And is your personality, I'm just curious because you have a bubbly personality. Is your personality like even when you were depressed and down, like you were still happy and kind to people on the outside, but hurting on the inside?
Well, people have always said that I have a certain energy about me, like a positive energy about
Mhm.
me. But people just didn't understand and know what I was thinking on the inside. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So people would never really suspect that I had given myself a date and a plan on what to do to say bye to the world. I think people would be shocked to know that. In fact, my family members, they're like, what? What do you mean? But yeah, and that's the thing because a lot of people, we wear a mask on our face, don't we? We wear a mask. And so you never know, never know what someone's thinking. So
And what they're
yeah.
going through when someone's not friendly to you on the street, you go, I wonder what kind of life they have, you know? And I always think that because I've always been intrigued by people on social media. For instance, someone loses 100 pounds, they put pictures, and there's always going to be one negative person who goes, "Look how flabby your skin is. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. Look at you." And instead of saying, "Oh my gosh, you lost 100 pounds. That's amazing." And you see how you wonder how are they when they go to the restaurant at night or when they're with their family like that. It's more of a indictment of the person making that comment, right, than the person that it's directed at.
Right, exactly. Exactly. I mean, you never know. So no one would have known I was thinking that, but boom, I was. And I was ready to go through the plan.
So how do you go from having this oh, we may have lost contact for a second. I'll pause it here. Jack, you can just edit this part out. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, basically you never know what anybody's thinking. Um, just because someone has a smile on their face all the time, it doesn't mean that that person is not screaming for help inside, you know, and doesn't have a way to, solve their problems and things. So, yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, and I think it's really important for people that are listening is, when you have gratitude, your mindset changes, right? So, for instance, if I came to your house and woke you up at 3 in the morning and we're going to go work in the field all day, you're not going to want to get out of bed. You're going to be exhausted. But if I say we're going on an adventure, all paid, everything's paid for, we're going, let's go, and you're excited, you're up, packing and ready to go. So a lot of us in life, like every day is a drudgery for them. Like going back to work, they don't like their boss, they're not passionate about what they're doing, they're just trying to get a paycheck, and living that way is really, really hard on people.
Yeah, it is. It's really, really hard on people. I mean, just everyday life can just be, a drag, a real drag, right? And especially if your mind frame is, I don't see this getting any better. And that's where I was. I didn't see it getting any better. So now I've gone after this experience, right? I've gone on to become an elite neuroencoding specialist. So now, scientifically, I understand why and how I got to the place that I was. Because I was actually programming myself because I would think about all the downtimes, right? Constantly. And so I was actually programming myself for that. But with the gratitude, it broke the cycle, right? And it changed my mind to where scientifically I started programming myself for the opposite, for good things to happen to
Yeah,
me. And
let's talk about that a little bit because I know surgeons, like if they're going to do a knee replacement on someone, they'll say, "Do you think the surgery is going to help you?" And if the person says no, they'll say cancel the surgery because you're going to have way more. And it's amazing when we've all been through those seasons of life where like one thing after another, the garage door opener breaks, and then this happens, your car breaks down, and it's like, what's going to happen next? You start getting that mindset, and then the next bad thing happens, and the next bad things. But some people, they're positive all the time. They just go through it and go, oh well, it happened. Go on with life. Life goes
yeah,
on. There's still birds flying outside, and the sun is still like keeping it in perspective. What's happening in life?
yes, yes. Like, so a key thing for me, one of my mentors, Les Brown, I don't know if you know who he is, but he always says, what you focus on the longest becomes the strongest. And that is so true. So if we focus on that person, focus, oh, this won't work, that knee surgery won't work. Well, you're right. It won't. But if you say, hey, no, no, let me give this thing a try. Let me try. Let me be hopeful for it. Let me try to expect something positive for it. Just that in itself makes it so that now, even scientifically, you have a greater ability to a greater ability to for something good for yourself to happen. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and I think just focusing on those good things and focusing on things that are going to bring joy to the world. One experience that I had that was really impactful was I went to Guatemala. I mean, I was in El Salvador that time with my oldest daughter and my pastor and some friends, and we were doing a medical trip down there, and we brought a soccer ball and some toys and like suckers for the kids. And these kids they were from a really poor area and they were so happy to have a soccer ball because they had a can wrapped in tape that they were using and soccer's huge there. But just seeing the joy on these kids as we just ran up and down the field and played soccer and and then afterwards we gave them the little suckers and coloring books and They were so happy. It was unbelievable. And then we get back to our hotel, which was a nicer hotel in the area. And there was a guy there that we were talking to, and he goes, "Can you believe this place is terrible?" He goes, "The sauna's not hot enough. There wasn't enough soap in the shower." He goes, "This place is horrible." I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like my buddy looked at me and said, "Who do you think's going to be happier in life, those kids or this guy who has everything?" And he goes, "I'm going to the yacht club for lunch," type thing. I was like, "Wow!" Like he wasn't happy about anything. You go, "Wow, that's a hard way to live life."
Right, it is. And you know what? So I definitely want to let people know that if you just change your perspective and find the listen, your life may not be going well right now. There's a lot of stuff that's going on, okay? But remember, what you focus on the longest becomes the strongest. So I don't care what your situation is right now. There is a seed of greatness. There's a seed of good in it. And so if you would just purposely say, you know what, I'm going to pick out the seed of greatness, the good in it. And if you write it down, now, what you write, we say in neuroscience, what you write, you invite. It goes into your subconscious. So I'm pointing to like the back of the bottom of my head, right? That's what I call my subconscious. My conscious is like the top of my head, right? This is logic. We're trying to figure things out. We're trying to make things make sense. But really, your subconscious is 10,000 times more powerful than your conscious, you trying to figure it out, right? So you got to write what it is that you want to invite. Like, I don't believe in, there's a shadow journaling, right? I personally don't shadow journal because that is picking out all the bad stuff and writing everything down. And, isn't it it's normal for us.
What's shadow journaling for those
Yeah,
of
it's
us?
called shadow journaling,
So,
where like if you have a problem, you want to write down all your problems. This
mm,
person did me wrong. Almost like going to a favorite friend and saying, "Girl, can you believe this guy did this to me?" and blah 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 blah. I mean, we kind of want to do that, right? It's easy for us to do that, but we are reinforcing it. It was easy for me to think negative all those years. I'm telling you, it was 20, 30 years for me thinking that way, for me to get to that point to say goodbye to the world, right?
yeah.
So we normally want to do things like that, but we're repeating those things into our subconscious mind and making it even more powerful in our conscious mind. But I'm letting people understand that they can reverse all of that. And it's your choice.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's so, I mean, journaling, I think it's so important. And now that I'm thinking, I'm like, I haven't journaled in a while, but when I was in a really busy practice in San Diego and I was working 18-hour days, I was always busy. I always had, always distracted. I was helping people, but it was a frustrating system because I never had downtime rest. I was always like going. I didn't have time to enjoy the flowers outside and things like that. So I was writing in a journal. I said, it'd be awesome. I mean, it's amazing because my medical assistant said, doctor, you're saying the same thing over and over and over to all these people all day about diabetes and health and positive attitude and all this stuff. She said, wouldn't it be great if you just recorded it and you could just play it for everyone and not have to say the same thing over and over? And I said, well, even better than that, it would be, and I started journaling about this. I said, it would be great if I could just have all my patients on a Zoom meeting and we could just talk about whatever they want to talk about. I can have 30 people, 40, 50 people there, and it's my 1 hour instead of spending 50 hours talking to people. And now we do that. My wife started crying when we went every 2 weeks, we either go for a walk with our patients or we do a Zoom meeting. Like we flip flop those, and it's amazing. You just go for a walk and talk about life, and we're all getting our exercise and out in the sun and enjoying life. And we have great conversations. And my wife was just, really, she goes, "You wrote that 3 years ago, and now it's happening." And it's amazing, so many things like that that you just don't, you think will never happen, but it's an idea in your head, and then
Yeah,
somehow it happens.
exactly. And I mean, when you write it down, it's even more powerful. They even say you're what, 10 times, I don't know if the statistic is totally right, but you're 10 times more have the ability to get the goal that you want if you write it down. I mean, that's just the way that it is, right?
Yeah, then you
So,
could
right.
then when you get weak, you can go back and look at why am I doing this? And this is what we talk about with lifestyle change because you forget. Like you're like saying, look, I'm cutting out sugar and processed food and alcohol, whatever. And they're like, why am I doing this? And they lose their will. But sometimes you look back, and go, that's right, my pants didn't fit right, and I was suicidal and depressed. I don't want to go back there anymore. So I love it when people journal because you can see your even how your mindset changes when you're in a healthier lifestyle.
Yeah. It's wonderful. It's powerful. And I love, like I said, I hadn't done a journal since I was 7, right? But I love my journals. I have one every year. So every day I have a session with myself in the morning where I'm writing down 3 to 5 things that I'm grateful for every single day. And I mean, it's all right here. So I love it.
How does forgiveness fit into this? Like when someone wronged
Oh,
you when you were a child, right? And now how do you live your life and get past that?
yeah.
Or
Well,
do you?
you know what? Well, you do. I think just by writing down my gratitude and focusing in on that, and then things you start noticing things start happening for you instead of to you. And you're like, oh my God, I cannot wait to write those things down in my journal. So it's almost like every day you're kind of looking for things that are good that's going to happen for you. Well, you cannot focus on the good and the bad at the same time. So if you have more good and you're writing those things down, you're harnessing those things, right? Which is part of one of my frameworks called Fly High, right? Is
Mhm.
harnessing the good. I don't have time to think about all the bad stuff that happened to me anymore. That's true.
And you look at the physiology of it too. If you're focusing on the negative, the bad, the down stuff, it has a bad effect on the human physiology. When you're thinking positive, even the gut microbiome gets better when you have gratitude. Everything it improves, right? Your digestion gets better because under times of stress, and some of us and I've seen it where people just can't see the good. Something good happens to them. They go, well, I'm just gonna pay more taxes now that I made more money. It's like, uh, you should be happy you made more money this year
Yeah,
too, right?
you get
Yeah.
to pay more
Yeah,
taxes.
you get to yeah, exactly, right? You get to because you have the income now and so there's a lot like that where people are actually successful. Or the other thing that I see a lot is someone will be successful in life and then their friends are trying to bring them down because they're threatened by that or it changes the dynamics of everything.
Right. Yeah, that could happen. And you become like the 5 people you hang around the most, right? So there's a lot of that. You kind of have to guard that. You don't want to, you can be high, but if the people around you are low, they'll try to bring you down. So kind of
So
have to protect yourself with it.
can you bring those people up? I mean, can you get their perspective right where they're now no longer an anchor, but they're helping you?
Well, yes, that now, doctor, you're very good.
Oh, shoot, we cut out again. I'll oh,
Okay.
here we go.
So, doctor, you're very good. You're right about that because Uh, Lord, I forgot what my thought was. You're gonna have to take that part out.
Oh, if we can bring up people that are the anchors, the ones that are holding us back,
Oh,
can
yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
influence them so that they're actually become supporters or buy into the vision?
Right. So, doctor, you're very good on that, right? So basically, I don't care what your circumstance is or even who's around you, you can find the good in this. So it could be that there's someone that's in your life. It might be your significant other. I don't know, right? But you know how they say iron sharpens iron, right?
Hmm.
So you've got to find the good in this situation, right? There's something about it that can make you better. Now, I don't believe that you can change a person. I don't believe that. The
Hmm.
person has to want to change themselves, but you can change your perspective on it, right? And you can think about why this is making me better. It's making me stronger in some way. And just smile and go on with it.
Yeah, and I think like not taking that criticism. So like unless it's constructive, where you go, okay, I can use this positively. But if someone's just bringing you down all the time, at some point you say, look, I can't take that person. And the sad part, and you alluded to it at the very beginning, is the most negative person we take along with us on our journey is us sometimes, right? That you can never do this. This is going to be too hard. It's too high. Until you accomplish those things, you realize, oh, I can do these things, and so I've seen people who are very like I have a problem with the helpless personality types. Like, well, you have this problem. Let's do this and this and this. And I can't do that because of this. I can't do this. And there's an excuse for everything. where you say, hey, at some point you just have to go out for a little walk and get outside, maybe, and try to improve your life instead of sitting inside and depressed all day.
Oh yeah. This is part of taking care of yourself. This is soul care, self-care. I call it soul care. But take a break. You have to take a break sometimes. Go outside, get into the great frequencies of nature. They're healing frequencies. Do some grounding, put your feet in the grass, do some grounding. Is good for your body. I'm telling you, these little small things, it may sound mamby-pamby, but they are so important and they're vital. And these are some of the things that I do myself. I mean, I do all of this myself, right? But of course, I'm human. I have ups and downs. So I have certain tools in my pocket that I go to, and getting outside in nature is one of them.
Yeah, and I think one of the things in Western side, I know for me years back, it would be like, that's way you got too much work to do. You don't have time to go waste time and sit out there and look at the ocean and listen to the birds and stuff. And you realize that's so counterproductive. So many patients I have, when they finally get into a relaxed state, if they're getting a massage, for instance, or they're at peace, they'll say, "Oh, I figured out the solution to that problem I was thinking about for 2 months. Now it's like just came to me." But sometimes your mind is so active with everything, and the negative thoughts don't help the situation.
That's right. And so when you're able to calm the mind actually works better when it's in a calm state, not when it's hustle and bustle and da 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 da. Da. But we think that I'm from the United States, right? We really are conditioned to hustle and bustle. Now that I'm in Rwanda, things it's a whole different thing, right? People kind of they adore spending time with their family. Um, it's okay to take in nature. It's okay to relax, and it is because it is.
It's
This
funny.
is part
It's
of what.
funny. Yeah, it's funny. I just remember I was in Montana for the first time, and I was visiting, and it's a slower life there. And I'm talking to this lady at the hotel, and she said she was talking. I go, "You're from New York?" She goes, "Yeah." And I go, "How long have you lived here?" She goes, "2 years." I said, "How was that transition from?" She goes, "I was from New York City, where the hustle and bustle and it's crazy all the time." And I got her. She said, "For the first year, I wanted to jump off a bridge. I couldn't take it because." Like I go to the store and I'm in a hurry and they're like, "Oh, how's your kid?" Like the people in front of them, "How's the kids? How's Tom?" They all know each other. And she goes, "In this small town, it was making me crazy." She goes, "Now I love it. Like I love it." And we get there and we talk at the grocery. Now I'm one of those people that we just talk to the teller and we know her, and and so it's just amazing how it's hard to change from that fast pace. And working with the corporate world, I know there's a lot of people trying to climb the ladder and doing whatever they can to get on top. And sometimes you just got to take a breath and breathe a little bit.
Got to. You have to. I mean, this is a part of the way that we take care of ourselves, right? Just like when you're on that plane and they go through the thing about the airbag. Who do they say put the airbag on?
Yeah,
You,
yourself. Yeah.
not your not your significant other, not even your baby, but you. So you got to understand that you're important. You got to take care of yourself. And so things like this is very important for you to take care of yourself because you can't help anyone else if you don't.
So what would you tell that listener right now? They're in the pit. They come to you and say, "Look, I'm in the pit. Everything's terrible in life. I lost my job. My marriage is in shambles. My kids are idiots." Like, what do you tell that person? Like, where do you start?
Well, first I tell them, to take a deep breath, right? Breath. Take a deep breath. But then immediately start harnessing in and write down what is good in this very moment right now. And it's only for your eyes to see it so that no one can judge it, right?
Mhm.
Right? Okay, you lost your job. Well, a lot of people have lost their jobs, right? Well, now you're not hustling all the time. Now you have time to take a breath. Just take a breath right now. So just realizing what the good part about it right now, write those things down, harness it. It's important.
Yeah, and I saw that during the lockdowns here is that some people it really helped them because they could slow down and get rid of all the distractions and they were there with their family and focus on what matters. And then other people, it was devastating for them because they want to go out to parties and go do stuff and they were kind of trapped. And so, I just saw how different people were affected dramatically. Either some for the very
Mhm.
positive. Someone said, "You know what? I finally had time to write that book I wanted to write, right? I finally had time to work on this art piece that I wanted to do or clean this room that has been bugging me for years." And so it's amazing how like being in the same situation, some people thrive and some people go off the rails.
Yeah, that's true. I loved it. I'm telling you, I went outside walking every day. I lost so much weight. It was so peaceful for me. There weren't people all busy in the streets, and it was just for me. It was nice, and I turned the TV off. I did not watch the television because I did not
That
want
probably
that.
saved you. Yeah, yeah, because that
That
was it. People were watching the TV getting stressed that they were going to die any minute, and then they eat cookies and they're drinking alcohol, and they said their whole life goes downhill. They stop exercising because they're afraid to go outside, and it really did affect some people. And it was funny because I noticed some of my patients who lost the most weight during that time were salespeople because they couldn't go out and wine and dine people and have food and alcohol and all that stuff. They were just at home. They go, yeah, I'm just going to make me a piece of chicken and have some vegetables with it or something instead of going out to these fancy dinners where they're having bread and dessert and everything the whole time. And so they actually did better during the lockdowns because they took that away, and then they realized, hey, maybe I should eat like that all the time. Maybe I should just change what I'm doing. Or they put
yeah,
in a home gym and they could work out still, and or start riding bikes or doing something different. Absolutely.
exactly, exactly. So I would say that the stimulus during that time, but you can even take this for right now. The stimulus does not have to be outside of you, it's within you, right? Who are we always with no matter what? Ourselves. So, why do we feel like we need outside things to stimulate us or to validate us? So, even during that time that you can say it right now, it's okay to get still with yourself and figure out exactly who you are and what it is that you want to do with your life, and what makes you happy.
Yeah, and I think journaling is so helpful that way because you start realizing, what would I change? What could I do? As a matter of fact, a friend of mine, Rob Sivas, who's a hard driving surgeon, really intense South African guy, he was talking about doing like a dopamine fast, meaning like you go 3 days, all you have is a pen and a paper, and you write down your thoughts, and you don't use your cell phone, you don't talk to people. And I'm like, you didn't do that, did you? He goes, I did. He said it was the hardest thing I ever did because it was so hard because you want to accomplish something and do. He goes, you don't accomplish anything. You don't even exercise the first day. You go for little walks and do things on the second day. But he said it was amazing because he really thought about people who helped him along the way and wrote him letters, and it changed his life really because he realized if you're in surgery and they hand you the wrong tool, he said I used to get so mad I would throw it on the ground and make a scene and yell at him. He goes, now I realize like that's just 30 seconds out of my life. Please, can you hand me that one instead? Here you go. Okay, thank you. And he goes, my life's so much simpler. Like I don't have to be a jerk to people. And he said he would get into fights with his wife if she was 3 minutes late because they were supposed to be somewhere. And then he realizes I sat there for 3 days. I could sit there for 3 minutes and wait. No big deal. She's putting her makeup on. I'll be calm. But his perspective changed on everything. And he said it totally helped him in how he deals with people more.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's it. Everything is perspective, right? And it's really it's not what happens to you, but it's what you do with that thing. How you perceive it. That's what life is perception. So what lens are we going to look at life? We're going to look at it optimistically or pessimistically. And which one do you think your life would be more pleasing?
And who would you
Everyone wants
rather
to.
be with? Yeah, who would you rather be with yourself? And that's the thing is when you're going on this journey, you need someone who's going to say, "You got this. You could do it." That's when I left the standard practice and went into direct primary care. And so I had friends come along, and go, "We got this. I know how to do a website. I know how to do this. I can help you with that." And having people come around you and they see the vision, it's amazing. It's such an amazing thing because so many of us a friend of mine's a pastor and he said the richest ground is in the graveyard, right? In the cemeteries because all these ideas and all these inventions and all these stories and all these songs that never got written because the person didn't have the courage to do it.
Yeah. That's it. That's the richest places, the cemetery. All that potential is in the cemetery, right? But I'm living my life to the max. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think, and
Yeah.
that's part of it. I think that's a big part of it. And I think I learned a lesson from my dad. He told me he was at Xerox and he was moving up the corporate ladder there. And his boss came in and he said, "Hey, I'm thinking about promoting this one guy. What do you think of him?" And all he did was like uh say, well, he didn't take care of this job. Remember, he screwed this up, and it was all negative. And my dad's a very positive guy. And the boss looked at him and said, "Wow, I'm really surprised you say that because all he had was nice things to say about you." They said
Mm.
my dad felt this big, and he goes, "Never in my life will I do that again." Will I like, I'll tell he goes, "I was biased in what I was saying because I didn't want him to get that job. I'd rather have that job, right?" So, once he had that realization, it really changed his life because he realized like just say nice things about people. And that's one thing I'll be at a dinner party or something. The guy's like, "Oh, you know what my wife does? She shops all the time. My wife does this," and they're all complaining. And then it comes around to me, I'm like, "Man, I got it pretty good." I'm like, I have nothing to complain about. I'm married up for sure. And then all of a sudden the discussion stops because once you throw that, you take that negativity away, people go, "Yeah, my wife's pretty nice too," and then they start looking at the good part of it, right?
Right,
Because
right, right, right.
I think that happens in relationships, like where you kind of just start looking at the negative. When you're negative, you start looking at the negative in other people, and you forget about all the good things they've done over the years.
Exactly. So you gotta harness the good in everything. It makes life go by so much better.
So how do you apply this to corporate life for people who are trying to work up their way up the ladder and all that kind of stuff? How do you get people who are hard charging, type A personality? How do you get them to say, "Hey, let me just smell the roses and relax a little bit and kind of enjoy life"?
I mean, it's really a choice. I mean, either they're going to get to the point where they get exhausted. Okay.
Yeah,
They're
because you
not
talk
happy.
about burnout and overwhelm and all that. So a lot of people are going through life. I know I was in that situation. I didn't want to get burned out where I didn't care anymore. So I said, I'm jumping out of the system so I can spend time with my patients and enjoy every minute of it.
Right. And I mean, kudos to you because see, the first thing you got to know what it is that you really want. So you knew, okay, I'm starting to experience burnout. I don't like the way that this is going at all. This is not what I wanted it to be. So you became aware of it. That's great. Well, how can I make this better? What can I do? And so now, I mean, to me, you look very fulfilled, and happy, and you feel more purposeful in life. So a lot of that is just knowing what it is that you want and having the guts to say, hey, it's not going the way that I want it to go. But let me see how I can make this work. Instead of victim, this is just not working. Oh my God, and panicking and burnout. How can I make this work? What is it that I really want to do?
Yeah, and then jumping and go, okay, here's the downside, here's the good side. Even if you make a list of the good and the bad, and you go, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it to stay where I'm at. Because I knew it was killing me. You can't work 18-hour days all the time and like be catching up on charts all weekend. And I have compassion. Because there's so many doctors out there who are just struggling with that. They're just on a ship and they're seeing their patients getting sicker and they can't do anything because they have 8 minutes with the patient or 12 minutes with the patient. You really can't discuss gratitude and positive lifestyle and these kind of things because they don't have time for it. They don't want to hear
Right.
about your family and problems. They go, "You have an ulcer, here's a drug for your ulcer, here's one for your blood pressure, here's one for this." Instead of saying, "Hey, why do you have a high blood pressure? Maybe let's look and see if it's stress or life or what's going on."
Exactly. So now you can even be more effective, much, much, much more effective. Because I don't like going to a doctor that's just gonna give me medications and things like that and not talk to me. Now, that's one thing that's different here in Rwanda. The Rwandan doctors are really more people focused. Like they really sit down and talk to you and say, "So tell me what's going on." And I couldn't believe it, but it was great. It's really great. So the bedside manner is there.
Yeah, that's so important because you have to know. If you don't know the patient, that's the benefit of internal medicine. You grow old together and you kind of know their tendency, who's going to overreact, who's going to be upset a lot, who needs to be seen a lot. And you start seeing like certain people, if they go, "Hey, I really need to be seen today," get them in because I know that person never comes in unless they have something major going on. So, it's kind of that personality. It's like the little boy who cries wolf and things like that. There's certain people who like everything's dramatic for them and there's life ending and they injure their pinky nail. It's not a big injury. But I think but there's a reason for that though. There's a reason when people want to be seen more and they have more needs. And sometimes where their only social outlet is going to the doctors, right? If
That
you're
is
lonely at
true.
home and things like that.
That is true. I used to be an EMT. So I used to have some of the same patients I pick up over and over again. And there was really nothing wrong with them, but it was their social outlet. It really was. So that's
Yeah,
the
no, and I
thing.
remember that I had people that would, when I was in the bigger group, we had five doctors, and one doctor's patients, a lot of times they would call on Thanksgiving or Christmas. They were just lonely and they wanted someone to talk to, really. So it's like, okay, I'll take 20 minutes, half an hour, we could talk and just, help them. And then they go on their way and I go on my way. But it's, it's just understanding that they're lonely, they're sad, and you think, why are they calling on the holiday of all things? And most people say, oh, I'll wait till Monday. I'll call after the holiday.
Right.
But there's a lot of people with needs and are scared, concerned, lonely, all these kind of things. And but I find that the people, my patients with gratitude that are positive, they like.
Mhm.
I have a guy, he's 88 years old, and he goes, you know what? If God takes me tomorrow, I'm good. I've had a great life, and all he does is help people his whole life. That's what he does.
Wow.
And he's always positive, always upbeat, no matter what. He goes, oh, other people have it worse than me. Like they have that perspective instead of saying, oh, my life's over because I got a sore throat. You know what I mean?
Right. That's cool. That's great. Yeah. And it's wonderful to meet people like that too. That, oh, I used to, when I was a kid, I used to love to be around older people because they just had a certain way about them and a perspective. They'd gone through so many things in life, but the ones that were still around and in their mind, they had smiles on their face. They always had a positive outlook. So that's a great thing.
Yeah, I think that's when you go through a lot in life, you start realizing, okay, this stuff doesn't really matter. Like what kind of car I drive, as long as it gets me from point A to point B, I don't have to have the fanciest car or the biggest house in the neighborhood, but being content with what you have. And I think that's one thing I've seen is there's a lot of people who have a lot of stuff and they're totally uh not content with that. And then they're looking at the other people who have more money than them instead of saying, gosh, what can I do with this money to help other people? What can I do like to go to like when we go to Guatemala, we have a group of builders that go down there and they help people, make so their houses aren't wheelchair friendly, so they can make ramps and do stuff so that people can, and they're making a huge impact. So just to see the joy these guys have with going down, and a lot of the guys are thinking, why am I going down? What am I going to do? And once they see that, and these guys, I mean, I'm telling you, this work crew we had this last time, that we usually work Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then Tuesday and Thursday go goof off. Tuesdays, Thursdays, they were there. Like they go, we're finishing this job. We've thought of other stuff we can do for these people, and like we're here, we're doing it, and they had a blast doing it. They had fun doing it, but they really made an impact too on the community.
Right, right. That's great. Telling you, I love it. As I get older, when I was young, I was like, oh, I want to achieve this. I want to have the big house, the picket fence, the marriage, all the money. Now I'm like, I like just simple. I like simple things. Like I just came from the villages of Rwanda up in the hill, and they live a very, very simple life. And but I'm like, wow, your food is so good. It's organic. The water is good. The air is fresh. And they're like, no, we want to come to the United States. And I'm like, look, you don't even understand. You really have it going on. The views are beautiful. You got $1 million views that you wake up to every morning, fresh air. I just
Hmm.
started telling them about all of the wonderful things that they really have that they take for granted, right? And they're like, you know what? No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, no, it's true. I know. I see it too. To go, man, you're in beauty, and then they're as a matter of fact, in Guatemala, like we make chicken, and the chicken breast is like this big, but they're natural and real, and the meat is totally different than if you're at Costco and get this one that's chicken breast is
Right.
bigger than a steak. And then I
It
was in
tastes like
Cuba too.
chicken.
Yeah, yeah, it's like real chicken. The first time I was barbecuing, I told my friend from Guatemala, I said, "Hey, this chicken's really cooking weird. It's really white." And he goes, "That's real chicken. That's why you're not used to it. You'll see. It'll be good." And yeah, just amazing how things like that where you have more now. Because the other thing is, and I think you'll agree with me on this. A lot of times we talk about the Mediterranean diet for heart disease but really, it's the Mediterranean lifestyle. They don't look and say, these guys wake up and they go, yeah, it's too windy. I'm not fishing today. Do you need help at your house? I can come help you, put on your new roof or whatever. And they have a sense of community and people aren't rushed and panicked all the time, paying taxes and running. They're just living a simpler life. And there's a lot to be said for that.
Yes, it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. I love it. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So what's something that surprised you? Is there any like a person or an event or something that surprised you and how someone's life transformed by looking at gratitude?
Oh, about gratitude? Just, my whole life changed when I started practicing gratitude. And it was genuinely things started happening for me that never happened for me before. And it would be, I don't know if it was my reticular activating system focusing in on, hey, what's good going to happen for me today? But I started writing down, oh my God, I can't believe this happened, or I met this person today. And it was just things that had never happened for me before. And I mean, still things happen for me, you know? And I'm like, wow, that just came from nowhere, you know? And
Yeah.
but, yeah, it's true though.
How about working with clients? Any client or any person stand out that you go, man, they really changed their life with gratitude?
Oh yeah. I mean, I had, I never mentioned names or anything, but I had one woman, she was married, she was in her marriage for like 25 plus years, right? But they were actually in the same house, but they were basically living apart, almost
Yeah.
like roommates, right? So I started, going through her coaching with her and having her think about gratitude and think about, things that she really wanted. I took her through a whole process. And so, long story short, by the end of that process, she really determined what she really wanted in life, that she had really been going by what other people projected upon her what she should have, right? The marriage, the big house, all of that, right? But she figured out that, hey, she wants to travel. She wanted to go places and she had a fear of flying and things like that. But by the end of our time together, she was traveling, going places, and she put into the framework what she really wanted, right? And it was time for the marriage for her to go for it to go bye bye, you know. And they both agreed. So they're still friends today, but they
Yeah,
understood.
they just
Yeah,
weren't compatible together, right? Or give each other
right.
the right what they need and everything. And so sometimes come to that realization and going, okay, either I nourish this and try to fix it, right? Or you go at some point it's too
Yeah.
far gone and you can't salvage it.
Right. But it came from her understanding what she really wanted. Like, let all the projections go. My mom always wanted me to have this. My sister always wanted me to have this. No, 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 no. The first step is, what do you want? Like,
Yeah,
really?
you know, one of
And
my
having
life,
the guts to say, having the gut, because
yeah,
I had to do the same thing. Having the guts to say, I really don't want to be out here grinding and hustling all the time.
yeah, you know, when I was in med school, I had a eye opener. One of the guys there, he was one of the most stressed people I know, and he was like, he would write all that, like when we did anatomy, he would write all the names of the muscles all over his body, so he would not forget. He would be looking at it all the time, and he was so intense studying and all that. And then one day he just said, "You know what? I'm done with this. I'm not doing this." 2 years in, we're in our second year of med school, right? And we're thinking, you got like $80,000 in loans already, and like you're gonna quit in the middle. And I go, what the heck are you gonna do? He goes, you know
Mhm.
what? I love scuba diving. I want to be a scuba diver instructor. That's what I want to do, and I want to go to Aruba. He goes, I don't need the money. His dad worked for Apple Computers, and he goes, I don't need the money. I don't like doing this. I hate every minute of this. I'm done. And so he went, and he's a dive. Now he owns his own company doing dive instruction. He loves life and he's happy, right? Because his dad wanted him to be a doctor. He's like, I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be working all night and checking prostates. I want to go out and look at nature and be outside. So it's like it's obviously was a rough decision for him, but he was so at peace after that. He was, I'm just done. I'm
Well,
done. Like every day struggling, and the rest of us are looking like it's a short in the scheme of, but when you think about it, you got 4 years of med school, you got 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of med school, then you got
mhm.
3 years of residency at least, and you go, if you don't like it, find what you love to do, find your passion, and so he did, and so I think that's one of those things people say it's so sad. I can't believe that he dropped out. I was like, I'm pretty happy for him. I'm pretty jealous of him right now when I'm working, 40 hours a week and 80 hours a week and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to go after what you have to have the guts to figure out what it is that you really want and go after it. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's it. And then saying and having that encouragement from someone, like my wife said, get out is going to kill you being in this job. Get out. I go, we're going to take a
Yeah.
pay cut. Get out. I don't care. We'll clip coupons. What do we have to do? So to have
Yeah.
that was really, really critically important. And then, so I have to
Yeah.
ask you, you've done a coloring book also for adults.
Yes.
Tell
Yes.
us
Yes.
about
Yes.
that.
I have two coloring books. Okay.
Oh, very
Two.
cool.
They're actually on Amazon. Okay. But this
And
is the
you
first
could
one.
say the names for people who are listening.
Yeah, so this is the Black Woman's Mindfulness Journal and Coloring Book. And the story behind this is I developed this about 3 years ago. And I wanted a way because when I journal, now you got to understand, I came up with my own journaling technique after, I mean, at first I didn't know what I was doing. There's no instructions or anything like that. But all I know is when I would finish with a journaling session, I would be on such a high after a 5-10 minute journaling session. I wanted a way for other people to have this experience that I had, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I discovered that when we were little girls, for the ladies, we would color. I don't know what the guys would do,
Yeah,
but
we
we
color
would
too.
color. We color too, okay. But we would color, and we would be like, oh, we really get into it, and we look at our picture, and we don't. For us, to us, no matter how old we were, it looked good to us, right? It looked great. We were proud
Yeah.
of it. So we were on that level. So when you're on that level, that frequency where you're feeling good, and you may not color every single thing, but you at the point where you want it to look good, right? And you are on that frequency. Now write down, these are prompts on the other page. You're right, it'll take you through where you can write down what you're grateful for so you can harness it. So it's perfect. You're on that frequency and then you're writing down. So again,
Mm-hmm.
what you write, you invite. So it just makes the experience so much more powerful. So that is the Black Woman's Mindfulness Journal and Coloring Book. And then, of course, in general, I just have the Woman's Mindfulness Journal and Coloring Book, right? So same thing, but different pictures. you
Yeah,
know?
very cool. Yeah, because you could use
So,
your creativity, and there's a lot of people who are very driven, but just coloring, just sitting there painting, doing stuff, it's so good for your brain, and sometimes just shutting down that logical part of it, and you could use your creativity. And so many of us
yeah.
have creativity we never tap into because we're scientists, or we're doctors or nurses or whatever it is. And so someone just shutting down a little bit and saying, okay, I'm gonna take time color. So for me, it's like when I see a puzzle, I'm like, I don't have time to sit there and do a puzzle. Are you kidding me? But if you do have the time, you're on vacation somewhere and you go, I have time. We're sitting here. Let's just put this puzzle together, and you have time. But I think it's one of those things we get so jumbled with all these duties and responsibilities that we forget about,
Mhm.
when we were a kid, coloring and doing things like that, where you can kind of just shut your brain down and focus on things.
Yes, it's wonderful. And again, this is part of your soul care. I call it soul care, right? So it's something that, I mean, set 5 minutes, 10 minutes in the morning and just say, this is time that I'm going to take for myself. Set the mood, light a candle and color, and get on that frequency,
And start
right?
your day off positively. Start your day off. A lot of us wake up too late. We're rushed to get to work, and we don't have time to even think about anything at all. So some people do devotions in the morning. Some people do things just to get their day start on the right foot, where you go, okay, I can deal with stuff. Because that's my joke.
Yeah,
I always say that if I go get a massage today, no one will upset me after that, because I'm not going to be
right.
upset by anything. And when you're in that mindset, you go, okay, I'll deal with it tomorrow. I'm not dealing with that today. And being in that peaceful state. And so a lot of us don't have that peace. I think when you find your peace and find, like I tell people, find what do you like to do? I don't care what it is. You can collect rocks, you can go for hikes, you can do whatever you enjoy doing. Like do that, and slow down a
Right.
little bit and just breathe. Like you're saying, just breathe.
Yes.
That resets everything too, the sympathetic nervous system, and getting into the parasympathetic mode. And so many people are never in this relaxation state. Like it's an odd feeling for them to be relaxed because they're used to always being driven. It's a hard thing. A lot of people
Right.
say, I just work and then I fall asleep. And I work and I fall asleep. It's like, well, you should probably go have fun a little bit. Go play a game or go do something that you enjoy that will bring you
Yes.
back to your childhood, whatever it might be.
So as a doctor, do you find that people that are more stressed like that, are they
Z-
more victim to illnesses?
Zero
Do you?
doubt. There's zero doubt. I've said it for years. There's zero doubt in my mind, and we see it, and I see it all the time. because anyone going through a divorce or a major life stress, they're going to have headaches, they have upset stomach, they have back pain, and obviously sleep problems make you more stressed, and then more stress you get, the less you sleep. So we see these cycles, gosh, if you could just breathe. I have patients, like, I'll have a middle-aged female real estate agent with two kids, not a happy marriage, and like they don't lose weight at all. They can't get their sugars under control. But if they figure out how to calm their nervous system down, because even
Mhm.
stress, I'm telling you, because I use a lot of continuous glucose monitors on people. When people are stressed, their sugars go up because your body's saying,
Okay.
"Oh, I'm going to release extra sugar because you're going to have to run away from this situation," right? So if you're giving a talk, for instance, or doing something that stresses you out, your sugar's high. So once if you're stressed all day at work, your sugar's going to be high. Your 3 month sugar average goes up. My diabetics, when they get stressed, they're more likely to get infections. All these things, like we know this for a fact. If you're sleep deprived, you're more likely to get the flu. If you're, all these things are they all tied together because you're in this chronic, like if you're in a chronic stress state, you can't digest your food right because you get decreased blood flow to the gut. It's all physiologic, right? But psychological too. So irritable bowel syndrome, now we're saying, oh, it looks like it's leaky gut, where your gut gets totally, stripped of the microbiome and the layering of the there should be a mucus layer there to protect us from what the contents of the colon, and we absorb it all. Then you're stressed, tense, inflamed, miserable. So yeah, it goes both ways. Your brain's looking at your body, but your body's also looking at your brain to say, "Oh, what
Mm.
kind of state are we in?" So if you're relaxed coloring, it slows down everything. So people do better, just doing stuff where you just shut down that negativity. Like I have to go to work. Like let me just focus on this picture right now, and not worry about work, for a few minutes. So a
Right.
lot of people on Monday morning they feel terrible. On Saturday morning they feel great. Like the only difference is you're going to work the next day or that day on Monday. On Saturday, you got a couple days to relax or do what you want to do. So I think if we live our lives that way, where it doesn't really matter if it's Saturday or not, if you're having fun and enjoy what you're doing, that's a huge takeaway. So based on that, I have to ask you, what's life's best medicine for you? For Valencia Dantzler, what's your life's best medicine for you? Like where do you get your motivation? Where do you don't want to get out of bed that day? Where do you find your peace when we go through lockdowns and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, I definitely think about the person that I was when I was at that point where I set that date, right? And I know that there are people out there who have done the same or have done it, are right now in that. And those are the ones that give me that, okay, Val, get up. You've got more people to talk to. Because I can do something as simple, and it was as simple as writing down 3 to 5 things I was grateful for every single day to change how I felt about myself, about my life, my whole psychology of life, right? And I'm not saying it would do that for everyone. I'm not saying you shouldn't go to a therapist or anything like that, but I
Mhm.
am saying this is what happened for me. And now I know scientifically what went on, right? I didn't even know what
Mhm.
I was doing back then. Now I absolutely know.
Mhm.
So something as simple as that was a breakthrough for me, and it's my calling, right? It's my calling. So
Yeah, and you just got a foothold in for some hope, and then you get your traction. Then you can really, now you're really adjusting and making it so it's very helpful for you and other people. So that's awesome.
yeah,
And if people want
yeah.
to track you down, how do they track you down?
Okay, yeah. So basically, I do have a special gift for your listeners, right? That have listened to the end. I have something called a Clarity Breakthrough Bundle. Okay, that I want to give your listeners, and all they'll need to do is to go to my Instagram, um, and it is at Val Dantzler. So that's V like Victor, A-L, D like David, A-N, T like Tom, Z like Zebra, L-E-R. And in that breakthrough, that Clarity Breakthrough bundle, they will have a guide in there. It's actually a 30-day guide, and it will give them just small things for them to do every day so they can harness easy things they can do to harness that gratitude. So start it on day one. By the end of the 30 days, you'll be totally brand new, right? And so they
Awesome.
also, yeah, it's awesome. And it's normally something that I charge my clients for, but I'm giving it to your listeners for free. And of course, with that, they can get a free clarity breakthrough session with me, 45-minute session, so that I can help them through anything any phobias that they're having, any fears, anything that's going on with them, they can sit with me for 45 minutes via Zoom. And that's my gift.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's so great. Like fears and phobias too keep us from doing things you're afraid of. I've met people with phobias and it's like, wow, it's so hard to live that way. It's so hard to live if you're
Mhm.
afraid of, I had a very interesting lady I met that she was afraid of things that were in like a beehive shape. Anything that was shaped like she was, I think she was from Rwanda, as a matter of fact. And I'm
Oh,
like,
really?
I've
Wow.
never heard of it. It's a certain name. I'm like, I've never heard of that before. But certain geographic patterns scare. Other stuff doesn't. She
Mhm.
goes, I'm not afraid of snakes, spiders, nothing. But that when I see that, it stresses me out. I was like, wow, that's pretty
Wow.
interesting.
Yeah, that's
So
very
if
interesting.
I track her down, I'll have her call you.
Yeah, that'd be great. There's a lot of beehives here in Rwanda too, so that's a thing. The honey here is a thing. So
Yeah, so maybe I go, did you get stung by bees, or did when she goes, I really just don't know. It's just when I see it, I get panicked. It's amazing. Yeah, I've never heard of that. Someone out there knows the term. Sorry, I don't know it. I can't remember it.
yeah.
But anyways, thanks so much for joining me. It was so great to have you, and your perspective on life. I think it's so critical for so many people. I'm telling you, people listening, don't just chase after that new. You forget about a lot of people forget about relationships, and it's all about when I get to this level, I'll be happy. When I get to this level, I'll be happy. When I get to this level, I'll be happy. When I have this car, I'll be happy. And then they get those things and realize like I'm not really happier. I just have a newer car, right? If I don't have someone to
Right.
enjoy that experience with, so be grateful and kind of like I always say, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and take a minute and just smell the roses and relax a little bit. Color, do
Yeah.
something different. Get out of your that constant driven state. I know what it's like. I did it for 30 years of my life, and you go, okay, I gotta slow down a little bit more. So sometimes
Yeah.
slowing down, it's okay. You'll be more productive when you slow down a little bit and get your bearings under you and get your feet under you. So thank you so much, Val. I appreciate having you on, and look
Thank
forward to the
you.
next time we talk.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you so much. Love the work you're doing again. So it's wonderful.
Thank you for listening to this episode. We greatly appreciate your support. We would greatly appreciate a positive thumbs up on all of the platforms like iTunes and Spotify or wherever you're listening. And we just thank you for our Patreon supporters. We greatly appreciate your help in getting this message out. We think there's a lot of important information, and hopefully this helps you. Have a great day, and thank you for listening, and thank you for your support.